What up, y'all? This is your boy, Mr. Downtown Ray Melo, and you're listening to the Entertainment Report on iHeartRadio for Tuesday, May 26, 2015, delivering some major stories and trends going on in the world of entertainment and beyond. You can follow the show on Facebook or on Twitter, facebook.com/The Entertainment Report with Ray Melo, that's RAYMELO, or on Twitter at The Enter Report. You can listen to the show anytime you want on iHeartRadio. Just go to iHeart.com, search for The Entertainment Report, and it'll take you to the page. Hopefully everybody had a great Memorial Day weekend. Cary Fukunaga is out as the director of the New Line's two-part adaptation of Stephen King's It, which will not move forward as planned this summer and has been pushed indefinitely. Multiple individuals familiar with the situation have told The Wrap. Insiders tell The Wrap that the True Detective director repeatedly clashed with the studio and did not want to compromise his artistic vision in the wake of budget cuts that were recently demanded by New Line, which greenlit the first film at $30 million. The situation came to a head over Memorial Day weekend, leading to Fukunaga's abrupt exit from the ambitious project. It was originally set up at Warner Bros. Before moving to New Line in recent weeks, which was one reason behind the unfortunate split. Shooting locations was another issue at the heart of the departure, with Fukunaga expressing a strong desire to film in New York, which is more expensive than other locales. Another sources indicated that New Line was getting cold feet about the project in the wake of the less than stellar opening of Poltergeist, which featured a clown in its marketing materials. As the start of production loomed in mid-June, Fukunaga's recent drafts were coming in over budget, and New Line had had success with genre movies when it had maintained a hard financial line. The budget conflict over It had been brewing for weeks, as Fukunaga's discovered when he initially tried to cast Ben Mendelsohn as the titular villain. While many assume Mendelsohn was forced to turn down It due to his pending involvement in Star Wars Rogue One, an individual knowledge of the situation told The Wrap that the Australian actor could have starred in both movies, It in June and Rogue One in September, but New Line wanted Mendelsohn to take a sizable pay cut, prompting him to pass on the project. It is unclear whether New Line will hire a new director to immediately take over the project or go back to the drawing board for an entirely new approach, but one insider told The Wrap that It was dead as currently constituted. A studio insider acknowledged the film has been pushed indefinitely, but did not go into the specifics of Fukunaga's exit. Where the Miller star Will Poulter has been in negotiations to star in It as Pennywise the Clown, a sharp-shifting child murderer who terrorizes the town of Derry, Maine, where a ragtag group of kids come together to battle him as well as their own demons. Fukunaga grew up as a huge fan of It and believed that King's classic novel deserves an epic adaptation. His ambitious plan called for two movies. The first would feature the protagonists as children, while the second would focus on the characters as adults. However, that was a dicey proposition for New Line, as it's difficult to market a movie starring children to an adult audience. While New Line hoped Fukunaga would at least cast a movie as Pennywise, the director ended up casting a young and unproven actor in Powder, who represents an exciting proposition but a gamble nonetheless. It is unclear whether he'll be involved in a future incarnation of the project, but a new director will likely want to conduct their own casting search. It wouldn't be surprised if New Line ended up adapting King's acclaimed book as one long movie featuring both children and their grown-up counterparts, as Insider says that is the studio's ultimate wish. King, for his part, weighed in on Twitter with his own dark sense of humor, which is a hallmark of his writing. He tweeted, "The remake of It may be dead or undead, but we'll always have Tim Curry. He's still floating down in the sewers of Derry." John Forbes Nash Jr., the mathematician whose life inspired the 2001 Best Picture Oscar winner, A Beautiful Mind, was killed Saturday along with his wife in a taxi crash on the New Jersey Turnpike, according to multiple media reports. Nash, who was 86, and Alicia Nash, who was 82, were riding in the taxi near Monroe Township when the incident occurred, State Police Sergeant First Class Gregory Williams told CNN. Nash, a Princeton University mathematics professor, won a Nobel Prize for Economics in 1994 for his work in game theory, which came to be known as the Nash equilibrium. His battle with paranoid schizophrenia was at the center of Sylvia Nasr's best-selling 1998 biography of Nash titled A Beautiful Mind, and it was the basis of the hit movie starring Russell Crowe. Alicia Nash helped care for her husband, and the two later became prominent mental health advocates. As the news of their death emerged, Brian Grazer, who produced A Beautiful Mind, remembered Nash and his wife. Grazer said in a statement to the Rap Sunday, John Nash offered humanity one of the most incredible triumphs. While he was coping with schizophrenia, he earned a Nobel Prize. He also added, most importantly, by agreeing to do A Beautiful Mind, his story offered a different perspective into mental disability and helped to destigmatize it for the world. On a personal note, John was kind, gentle, collaborative, and always focused on the bigger picture message. His wife was a generous and tireless partner in making his life complete and helping him to bring all of his achievements to fruition. Jennifer Connelly, who won an Oscar for portraying Alicia, also remembered the two. This is a great loss. John and Alicia Nash were an inspiration, and I have deep admiration for all that they have accomplished in their lives, she said in a statement to the Rap. My thoughts are with their family. Nash, a Princeton University mathematics professor, won the Nobel Prize for Economics in 1994. Crow and director Ron Howard expressed their condolences on Twitter Sunday. Russell Crowe wrote, "Stunned, my heart goes out to John and Alicia and family, an amazing partnership, beautiful minds, beautiful hearts." While Ron Howard tweeted, "RIP brilliant, hashtag Nobel Prize winning John Nash and his remarkable wife Alicia. It was an honor telling part of their story, hashtag A Beautiful Mind." Actress and comedian Ann Mira also died over the weekend. She was 85 years old. Mira's husband, Jerry Stiller, and son, Ben Stiller, on Sunday released a statement to the Associated Press saying she died Saturday but provided no other details. The statement described Jerry Stiller as Mira's husband and partner in life and said, quote, "The two were married for 61 years and worked together almost as long." The couple performed as Stiller and Mira on The Ed Sullivan Show and other programs in the 1960s. Mira appeared in dozens of films and TV shows, including on All My Children from 1993 to 1998. She also had a recurring role in Rhoda, Alf, Sex and the City, and appeared with her husband on CBS's sitcom The King of Queens. Mira, who was born in Brooklyn on September 20th, 1929, was raised as a member of the Catholic Church but later converted to Judaism after marrying Stiller. Mira was nominated twice for an Emmy Award for her supporting role on Archie Bunker's Place, along with 3 other Emmy nods, most recently in 1997 for her guest starring role on Homicide: Life on the Streets. In addition to her acting role, Mira had a successful writing career. Her 1995 comedy After Play, which the New York Times described as, quote, perfect New York comedy in its reviews, ran off-Broadway, and her Down the Garden Paths had a brief off-Broadway run in 2000. She also won a Writers Guild Award for the 1983 TV movie The Other Woman. Mira survived by her daughter Amy and several grandchildren in addition to Jerry Stiller and Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller has offered a heartfelt tribute to his mother, Ann Mira, saying that he and his family are, quote, so lucky to have her in our own lives. Stiller wrote early Monday on Twitter, "Thank you so much for all the kind words about Ann. All of us in our family feel so lucky to have had her in our lives." The family of blues guitarist and singer B.B. King are alleged that the 89-year-old icon died of poisoning or insufficient medical attention, not of natural causes, as original May 14th media reports claims. The rap spoke on Monday with his children's lawyer, Larissa Dorobaisker, who said that she represents King's 2 daughters as well as the extended family. Because King is survived by many children and grandchildren, Dorobaisker was selected to speak on behalf of the entire family. She said, "The family is structured. Mr. King had so many living children and grandchildren, and he elected 5 to be members of the board and to operate a board. So I represent the members of the board who speak on behalf of all the children and grandchildren." According to Drobelheiser, the family is convinced that King's longtime manager and closest aide, Laverne Toney, is to blame for his passing. Drobelheiser told the Rap, "The children said that he was poisoned or his cause of death was attributed to Laverne Toney's lack of attention to his medical care." She also reveals that the family gave her evidence drafts and affidavits to the courts that are sufficient to open up an investigation. The coroner report will not be released for 8 weeks. The family lost a court battle to seize control of King's affairs from Toney early this month before he passed. King's children accuse his manager of stealing his money and neglecting his medical care, which Toney denies. For the time being, King's memorial continues. She said the body was taken back to the original funeral home in Las Vegas and is probably right now in transport to Mississippi for the next memorial ceremony, the final ceremony. Laverne Toney's lawyer, Brent Bryson, has not yet commented to the Rap's request for comment. Controversial blogger Chuck Johnson has once again found himself at the center of a storm. Johnson's Twitter account has been suspended after he published a post early Sunday soliciting funds for the purpose of taking out civil rights activist DeRay McKenzie, CNN's Carol Costello reports. The tweet on Johnson's since suspended account reads, "Go to gotnews.com/donate if you want to give money to take out at DeRay." McKenzie responded to Johnson's tweet, writing, "Yes, I take this as a serious threat." In a response to the suspension, Johnson wrote an email to website Recode stating that he was, quote, "speaking metaphorically about exposing DeRay in much the same way Slate was speaking metaphorically about taking out a Supreme Court justice." And in a post on Got News, Johnson, who describes himself as, quote, "an award-winning journalist who has exposed frauds, ended careers, and been profiled in major publications," contended that he merely tweeted that he was interested in doing some research on McKenzie, who he called a leader of the anti-cop astroturfing currently hitting the inner-city black community. Johnson added, "Of course I knew this would happen. Twitter has a serious problem with investigating journalism that breaks the mold." In an interview with Costello, McKenzie didn't buy Johnson's explanation. He said, "For someone who considers himself a journalist, I firmly believe that he understands the power of his words. If I got out on any media outlet and said something to the effect of taking out the police, nobody would think I was talking about an expose. It would function to meaning a physical threat." McKenzie told CNS, "This isn't free speech. This wasn't free speech. This was hate speech." Johnson's no stranger to controversy. Last year he caught heat for publishing what he thought to be the real name of what he thought to be the real name of Jackie, the woman who claimed to Rolling Stones that she was raped on the University of Virginia campus, in a story that he has since been retracted by the magazine's publisher. He also came under fire for publishing the addresses of two Ferguson, Missouri-based New York Times reporters. Time Warner Cable is set to be sold to Charter Communications for $55 billion on the heel of its collapsed merger with Comcast, according to Bloomberg. The financial news service reported on Monday that Charter will pay $195 a share in cash and stock, according to people familiar with the matter, and the deal will be announced as soon as Tuesday. Charter will pay $100 a share in cash and the rest in its own stock, said the people who asked not to be identified because the talks are confidential. Bright House Networks, a smaller cable company, will also be merged into the combined Charter Time Warner Cable, they said. Time Warner Cable has a market value of $48.4 billion. A deal for the cable giant to merge with Comcast fell apart in April in the wake of government opposition. Max Greenfield has a reservation with American Horror Story Hotel, and it doesn't sound like it's going to be a pleasant stay for him. Ryan Murphy, co-creator of the creepy FX anthology series American Horror Story, tweeted on Monday that the new girl star Max Greenfield has joined the cast of the series' upcoming fifth installment. Murphy has also hinted that his character won't be meeting a pleasant end. Murphy wrote, "This October, Max Greenfield, like you've never seen him, is checking into the hotel but not checking out." In keeping with the hyper-secrecy that surrounds all things American Horror Story, Murphy wasn't forthcoming with further details. What is known, however, is that hotel will be packed house cast-wise. Among those appearing in the upcoming season are returning cast members Matt Bomer, Kathy Bates, Sarah Paulson, Erin Pierce, Chloe Sevigny, and Angela Bassett, along with newcomers Lady Gaga, Michelle Pfeiffer, True Blood alum Alexander Skarsgård, and now Greenfield. While a number of cast members are returning, American Horror Story follows a different story with different characters each season. Previous seasons were set in a haunted house, an asylum, a witch's coven, and a freak show. Art Garfunkel is still navigating troubled waters when it comes to his music career with Paul Simon. Garfunkel, one half of the tremendously successful duo Simon and Garfunkel, lashed out at his former collaborator in a new interview published by The Telegraph, saying that he, quote, created a monster when he first befriended Simons. And he also made note of the fact that Simon is shorter than him. In an interview, Garfunkel told Nigel Farndale that he initially befriended Simon out of sympathy for Simon because of his diminutive height. Garfunkel added, and that compensation gesture has created a monster. Asked whether there is an issue regarding height between the two, Garfunkel replied, "I think you're onto something. I would say so, yes." Before splitting up in 1970, Garfunkel and Simon recorded a number of iconic hits, including Mrs. Robinson, The Sound of Silence, and Bridge Over Troubled Waters. Despite their off-rocky relationship, the pair have reunited on a number of times, including for a 1981 concert in New York's Central Park that drew more than 500,000 attendees. Despite his monstrous claim, Garfunkel left himself open to perform again with Simon, saying it was quite doable. He also added, Will I do another tour with Paul? That's quite doable. When we get together with his guitar, it's a delight to both of our ears. A little bubble comes over us, and it seems effortless. We blend. So as far as this half is concerned, I would say, why not while we're still alive? Former Beatle Paul McCartney got a big assist from Foo Fighters frontman Dave Grohl Saturday night in London as the two put their stamp on the Beatles classic I Saw Her Standing There. The former Beatle was on stage at the O2 Arena while Grohl joined him to provide one of the show's highlights, a collaboration of the tune written by McCartney and John Lennon and released in the UK in 1963. Several excited fans shared pictures and video clips on social media as of the two musicians rocking it out. McCartney and Grohl are regulars, if not frequent collaborators. They previously performed I Saw Her Standing There at the 2009 Grammy Awards, and they paired to record the single Cut Me Some Slack from the ex-Nirvana drummer's 2013 Sound City documentary. McCartney performed again Sunday night at the O2 Arena. The 2015 Cannes Film Festival has now come to an end, with Deepan winning the Palme d'Or, a pair of flat shoes grabbing headlines, and a consensus gradually emerging that this wasn't a particularly impressive Cannes, that perhaps the first few days of euphoria that the Rap noted last weekend faded into a succession of good but not great films. Over the 12 days of festival, a variety of winners emerged. The winner, Caro, nor did it win the Palme d'Or and had to settle for an odd tide from the Cannes jury. But Todd Haynes' 1950s set Patricia Highsmith adaptation, only one of two films from American directors is in the main competition, drew some of the festival's biggest bravos. It also prompted a rare anonymity among reviewers, almost of whom he used the word exquisite to describe Haynes' subtle, luminous work. It is possible that the Cannes kudos will build up unrealistic expectations for what is a low-key, understated character study, but you can count on the Weinstein Company to put the film, and particularly its performances from Cate Blanchett and Rooney Mara, in the thick of the awards race. Hungarian actor turned director Laszlo Nemes was already a winner by having his debut film, Son of Saul, accepted in the main competition at Cannes. The festival, after all, almost never gives first-time filmmakers a slot in its most prestigious section. But Son of Saul more than justified the booking, quickly becoming one of the festival's most acclaimed films, picking up a U.S. distribution deal with Sony Picture Classics and landing the festival's Grand Prix, its second-place award. Son of Saul is a dark, claustrophobic Holocaust movie that uses an almost square frame to zero in on the face of a Jewish concentration camp inmate who must block out the horror around him to survive in his job as a particular group of prisoners who assist the Nazis in their deadliest mission. The film brings something new to the familiar genre. The next stop, one assumes, will be the Oscar race for Best Foreign Language Feature. Away from the main competition, Cannes always makes room for a couple of Hollywood studio films in its out-of-competition slots. And this year, Warner Brothers' Mad Max Fury Road and Disney Pixar's Inside Out weren't just the studio movies on hand to bring out the movie stars. They were two of the most acclaimed films at the entire festival. Between George Miller's reboot of the Mad Max franchise, which some reviewers dubbed the greatest action movie of all time, and Pete Docter's smart and complex animated trip inside a young girl's brain, the studio went toe-to-toe with all those international auteurs and didn't give an inch. Woody Allen has the timing of a stand-up comic, which he used to be, and the worldview of a true fatalist, and together they made the press conference for Allen's Irrational Man one of the most entertaining half hours at Cannes, trashing religion and explaining his role as one of the distracting viewers from the fact that life is pointless. Allen kept the press in stitches with the virtuoso performance. He said with a shrug, "We're living in a random universe with no meaning. It is very hard to sell anyone a bill of goods that there are any good of this. It doesn't sound funny in print, but trust us, if you were there, you were laughing." Of the 19 films in the main competition, 3 were by Italian directors, and all 3 delivered, giving Italy the best track record of any country in the competition. Matteo Garrone's Tale of Tales was a divisive but gloriously twisted take on fairy tales. Nanni Moretti's Mia Madre, a touching blend of comedy and drama, and Paolo Sorrentino's Youth, a gorgeous film featuring an acclaimed performance from Michael Caine. Then again, the jury overlooked all 3 of them, so maybe they weren't quite the winners they seemed to be. Southpaw, the Weinstein Company's boxing movie directed by Antoine Fuqua and starred Jake Gyllenhaal, wasn't an official part of the festival, but as a member of a jury, Gyllenhaal was, which means he was around to drop in on the TWC's annual presentation of its upcoming slate, at which Harvey Weinstein all but promised that he'd land the actor the Oscar nomination he was denied for Nightcrawler, and for other appearances on behalf of the film, including a VIP screening on a yacht on the final Friday of the festival. Southpaw came out of the festival with the buzz, and it did so without screening for the ever-fickle Cannes press, a win-win situation, perhaps for a distributor looking to build early heat in advance for a fall release. And finally, Tomorrowland surged past Pitch Perfect 2 at the Memorial Day box office. On Sunday, Tomorrowland, the $150 million sci-fi saga inspired by the utopian dreams of Disneyland founder Walt Disney and one of its park rides, was pulling away from Pitch Perfect 2 after the 2 movies went into Saturday neck and neck. The sprawling adventure starring George Clooney, Hugh Laurie, and Britt Robertson was heading for a $41 million box office triumph over the long holiday weekend. The reigning champion, Bardem Bellows, was just behind at roughly $39 million and have pushed their domestic haul to $125.4 million in 10 days, nearly double the original film's final totals, and their global grosses to $187 million. The Tom Hardy, Charlize Theron road rage revival Mad Max Fury Road, the blockbuster Avengers Age of Ultron, and the weekend's other wide opener MGM and Fox's Portuguese remake were all bunched behind the leaders and heading for around $30 million. It was a competitive but subdued Memorial Day weekend at the box office.